Gregory Frost's most recent published book-length work is the two-part Shadowbridge novel, Shadowbridge and Lord Tophet, from Random House, Delray. The novel was a finalist for the James Tiptree Award. His previous novel, Fitcher's Brides, Tour Books, was a Best Novel finalist for both the World Fantasy Award and the International Horror Guild Award. His 2014 novelette, No Others Are Genuine, was a finalist in the long fiction category for the Bram Stoker Award. His collaborative story with science fiction author Michael Swanwick, Lock Up Your Chickens and Daughters, Hard and Andy Are Come to Town, won the 2016 Asimov's magazine Readers Poll. His latest is a novelette length, A Farce, Three Can Keep a Secret If Two of Them Are Dead, in the current issue of Asimov's magazine. A graduate of the Clarion Writers Workshop program, he has returned to teach at Clarion 4 times, most recently in the summer of 2014. He likes to quote the late Robert Benchley, including, "Anyone can do any amount of work, provided it isn't the work he's supposed to be doing at that moment." Please welcome Greg Frost.
So anyway, this is the opening scene of Three Can Keep a Secret. I am naked! Slowly in the center of the surveillance center, I turned about on almost dainty feet, well, compared to my equatorial zone. Arms raised over my head, my chins thrust up and out while my immense belly shook and quivered and essentially hid all the essentials, by which I do not mean the wedding tackle Prospero the Great had likely not viewed with his own eyes in at least a decade. The technician behind the scanner said, "Sir, this is really... I hope you are recording this. Can you all see me?" A ridiculous question, I grant you. I am naked! "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" quipped Leroy. His voice as dry and sarcastic as my real Uncle Leroy's had been when he was alive. And let's be fair, I was. Uncle Leroy, who had taught me the 3-card Monty for my 5th birthday, had also invested me with the wisdom of the true gaffler. Among those gems, when you want to be invisible, make the loudest, biggest scene imaginable. Everyone will watch, transfixed by shock and their own inability to disengage as you scar them for life. Of course, what they remember will be what you wanted them to see, which they'll work terribly hard not to revisit. Bravo, Uncle Leroy. Prospero the Great has nothing to hide, nothing to be ashamed of. Bring on your frigid medical instruments, pull on your cold nitrile gloves. Prospero will not blanch. Prospero will never lose his dignity. And now for the jewel in the crown. I faced the female security officer who had ordered me to strip in the first place. She wore the kind of grim smile that usually accompanies an impending attack of dyspepsia. You! I turned and bent hands upon thighs like a sumo wrestler and thrust my naked backside at her. Inspect me now! The officer yanked her head away as if a snake had lunged at it. The scanner technician interjected a strangled cry. He's clean! I drew myself up stiffly. Of course, I'm clean. Prospero bathes daily. The officer pointed behind herself. Get the hell out of here, she said, exhibiting remarkable control. The plasteel exit wall swiveled open and I jiggled proudly out. I leered at her as I went past. That's one, said Leroy. I looked back across the chamber to the debarking tunnel where dozens of passengers had been inconvenienced by the performance of Prospero the Great. Pity the miserable sod who came next. Pity even more the other original Prospero, an assassin whose birth name was actually Cronach. Seems the poor man had been inconvenienced before departure by an officious ticket taker named Ravelli, an identity I find particularly useful, who had accidentally erased all record of Cronach's booking. The result was that Cronach had missed his connection to this gray, stony world. To add insult to injury, Ravelli had accidentally stuck him with his stylus, a nasty little wound which slowed him down even more. No doubt that Prospero had demanded the obnoxious Ravelli be fired, drawn, and quartered, but had to settle instead for a significantly reduced fare on a much later flight when Signor Ravelli could not be located. Hardly surprising since I'd abandoned that persona and boarded in Cronach's place. The concept of 2 Prosperos wasn't going to fly, literally. Cronach would have heard about my performance here before he passed through surveillance on his own fabricated documents. I was counting on it. More than likely he would have another identity prepared. I would have. Still, that was another of Leroy's apophthegms. Always arrive first. The exit closed behind me and I swaggered over to my clothes. They were tossed carelessly on a table beside my scanned and pawed through luggage and the prized open crate which contained my props and my disassembled lovely assistant Sonakshi trademark. Automaton. What a backwater little planet this was, or alternatively, how paranoid of them, with good cause in my case. I stared furiously at the clothes. This is how you treat Prospero the Great? Look at the creases! I hope you treated my equipment better than this. Everyone in this chamber had monitored my performance. There wasn't a centimeter of this place not under surveillance. And they weren't about to come near me. I held up my antique cotton boxer shorts large enough to hold an asteroid and waved them around before daintily stepping into them and snapping the waistband. I finished dressing quickly, but not too quickly, and gathered up my belongings. A member of the security team unlatched the exit and held it open, his eyes pleading with me to go. Huh, I said. Prospero has places to go, people to see. That was certainly true. But who will bring my luggage? I glanced back. A team was already assembled to reseal the crate and wheel it after me. I nodded in satisfaction and strode proudly out of the chamber. 2 down, Leroy chimed in as the exit sealed behind me and I faced the final hurdle. Getting through customs was like flowing through the digestive system of some turgid beast. And here at last we arrived at excretion. Palm and retinal scans, ridiculous redundancy. Honestly, has anyone ever attempted to change identities in the middle of processing? The last customs officer handed me my passport. Of course, I studied it carefully. A passenger from overcrowded Earth who didn't compulsively inspect his ID would provoke instant suspicion. And there it was, a single control stamp that was 1 day out of sync on my passport. I shoved it at the customs officer. Look at this! Outrageous! Just the sort of discrepancy people arrest you for. I insist you fix it at once. Mr. Prospero, the Great! He closed his eyes, counting to 10, no doubt. What could be worse than an incensed fifth-tier carnival performer with delusions of celebrity status? In one frenzied act, he took hold of the passport, electronically changed the stamp, and passed it back to me. There was a pad on which I was to press my palm one final time, but like his brethren, he had suffered enough, Prospero. He slapped his own palm there, overrode the system, and opened the final door himself. Belly up as high as it could swell, out I marched ahead of him. And 3. And that is how you got through customs on, well now, I can't tell you that, can I? It might have been Ceres or Ganymede or Luna, or 100 other places. Remember, any name I give out is false, including my own. I never existed, as you, should you follow in my footsteps, will also claim. And none of the things I tell you ever really happened. Who's going to believe the wild stories of a few underlings in the customs service? Outside, I turned to the red-faced officer and said, Prospero the Great will, of course, need assistance to get his belongings to his hotel. My back, you understand, such a journey, and then disrobing and all that bending over. There won't be a porter left at the gate, and this has all taken so long. That Leroy had already secured us a private cab for our personal use was beside the point. It awaited me at my hotel. You want us to? Of course, I could always accommodate myself in your offices until a cadre of porters in some of your tri-wheel cabs can be found. On cue, Leroy triggered an internal effect in my fake, micro-baffled, anti-detection shielded belly. It rumbled something like the Titanic's forward compartments right after being punctured by the lethal iceberg. Oh. I shifted my weight as if trying to dislodge something internally. Stress, I said. It gives me such terrible flatus. I smiled apologetically. In the annals of Vespertine LLC, I believe I have never gotten so much assistance so quickly. Delivery time to my destination, 278 seconds, breaking the previous record from that distasteful episode in Istanbul.